This theme playing with reflections in a lot of your work, which again, brings up memory and the past and what you're looking into. In this next image, you have a framed picture on the wall, and it looks like a reflection of maybe your father through that image. What was going on?
It's a framed drawing of my great-grandmother on my dad's side, and he was just over looking into the bird cage that is over on the other side of the room, and I really loved his reflection coming through, and then the lines that the cage make, and then also the lines that the blinds make. It just became a really interesting picture within a picture to me, and also it was a family history in one spot, which I thought was really interesting.
It's almost like looking through, like a hall of mirrors.
Yeah.
And there's frames going everywhere, and there's lots of squares within a square format.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I had shot the same photo in a 35 millimeter as well, and I just felt like the square within square was really much more effective.
Mm-hmm. Again, with the silhouettes that you have so much of here, you've got your mom next to a window, very dark in the colors. Everything else is so bright. This is a contrast to a lot of your other images here. What brought you to this moment?
I actually use this as the closing of the series, and it is that darker feeling, and it feels more like the end of the day and sunset coming. And I was really interested in the shape that my mother's hair makes in conjunction with the curtain above it, how it makes a diagonal line that comes through it. And to me, if it anchors the end of a series, the line brings me back to the rest of it. And also the idea that she's looking out, I think it's the most you can see her face in any of the work. And that's the one strip of light is across her face, and the rest of it's kind of going black. So my idea with that was, once again, to get into memory, and then this is also kind of the fear of losing my parents and my family. And so this one, I think, speaks more to fear than nostalgia than the other ones do.
And light plays such a huge role in photography, and the way you use it in your work is very, very unique. It looks like you're picking very distinctive times of day throughout this whole body of work. When are you shooting?
Primarily shoot early in the morning, or as evening comes and the light starts to make interesting, sharp shadows. I tend to shoot very infrequently in the middle of the day, and then I am just not a fan of artificial light, so I just try to use what's there, and I just think nature provides such beautiful things for us to work with, so I always just try to work with them.
And with this work, you're shooting film. What kind of film are you using that brings out these rich colors?
I primarily shoot Kodak Portra 160, and I used to shoot 160 NC, but that's been discontinued. Yeah. And then I shoot Kodak's Ektar. I like to keep really low ISOs, and I feel like those films in particular have these really subtle, soft colors that work really well for me, and they're not very harsh. And then the low film speed allows for very little grain, so they're all smooth, and that's my favorite thing to work with.
Very smooth and very quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, very peaceful.
So in my most recent work I've been doing, it kind of ties together with my past work about my parents, in that it's all done around that area. And they're just experiences, everyday experiences, and just things that happen. And I have a photo of a smushed baby snake on the street, and I just took that while walking my dog with my mom, and it was a tiny little snake, and it was just so beautiful the way the light was hitting it, and I just really enjoy finding the small moments. And the same happens in a photo I have where it's a reflection, once again, through my parents' bay doors of my sister when she was visiting, and she's just standing, but you can see the bay in the background, but it's also, you can see the house through it, and it ties together that inside-outside duality once again. Then the portrait of my dad on the dock, it's just such a natural place to see him, and we're always out there eating crabs. He was a waterman for 20 years, and it's just a really natural, soft feeling of him. And once again, that old man of the sea comes to mind when I see it, and there's just peace within it.
The next image is drastically different than most of your work. You've got what looks like animal paw in here and some bones. What drew you to this image?
Once I was with my dog on the beach, and I just came across these bird bones, and just her foot looked so menacing in it against like the bones, and it has this violent undertone to it, which I think definitely exists down in St. Mary's County where my parents are, especially in context to animals, because there's the whole idea of living off the bay. There are farms down there, and it just has a gritty feeling to it. And when I think of the bay, I think of bare feet and splinters and fish blood and, you know, just being out there in the grit of it all. And I think that also kind of goes with the photo of my dad burning things in the front yard. So it's like this beautiful sunset time, the belt of Venus is across the bay, and yet there's a fire and there's that man-made destruction again against this like beautiful, serene quality. And I'm really drawn to that for some reason.
The next image you have here is of a girl. It looks like it's winter time now. All of the rest of your images, it looks very warm and very inviting. And this next image feels very cold.
It is the winter, and my sister once again. And it's another part of living on the bay year round instead of just the vacation era of the living on the water. And it's where things are very gray and dismal. And I once again wanted to disclose her face a bit with the gumballs and the sharp pointy shapes and that selective focus.
And then in your final image here, we have the greens, the kale here, very bright. I think this is, you know, in contrast to the one before, it brings a lot of life.
Yeah, I think that ties into how my parents are and speaks to who we are as people down there with homegrown kale and also the generational connection between the older hands and the younger hands. And once again, like a knife is present, so it introduces that violent element. But that photo was actually taken about 10 minutes after the grayer photo before it. And so it's all the same day, but it's just, it can go from like a dark moment to such a light and like giving moment so quickly down there. And I really wanted to capitalize on that.
Your work has appeared in several important exhibitions, including one at the Goethe Institute in Washington, D.C. How were you selected for that show?
I was contacted by Muriel Hasbun, who teaches at the Corcoran, and she said that the Goethe was interested in pairing their photographer Iris Janka with Corcoran students, and she thought that my work might be a good candidate for it. So I just sent in some images, and then I received an email later saying that Iris thought it would work well with her work, and there it went from there.
We'd like to show some footage taken at the Goethe Institute.
That'd be great.